If he didn't tap it, and the burn of the card didn't really matter, but those 2 points were crucial to the entire match.
I need to take a break from chalkboard segments. I don't think I'm doing anybody any good, quite frankly, myself included. And maybe we're gonna have to have a talk with TJ next time. Just let him take over his second home, the beloved chalkboard.
Probably safer for everyone.
Yeah, just better for the mental health as well as the tournament results. But a fantastic run by Sweep so far, guaranteeing himself a spot in the quarterfinals. And we brought you a highlight from Aqua versus SamuelTsao earlier on in this match. And we are now going to pick it right up from game number 3. Samuel is up 2-0 over Aqua. And now this is going to be the Pirate Warrior taking on the Tempo Mage.
Tempo Mage, which can flip the board with cards like Flamewaker, but at the same time, it may be kind of, hurt by the fact that you play a lot of mid-range creatures that can be played on the first turns to interact with the Pirate Warrior. And it seems like this is the case, right? Turn 1, nothing, and you already face 2 minions on board. Small Time Buccaneer, perfect setup. I mean, maybe not perfect, but a really good setup. Pretty damn good setup for turn 1. And now, SamuelTsao, it's like, oh, what do? I guess I Frostbolt the Small Time Buccaneer, but still there's 1 minion just dealing damage. And this is, well, certainly not a good, this will be not a good news for Samuel, seeing the Saucy Captain. To be honest, I don't like Saucy Captain so much.
Really?
Lately, yeah. It feels like most of this...
You'd rather it be a Murloc War Leader?
Yeah, I love the War Leader.
And have there be the other Finja 4 in there as well?
Definitely, yes. I see subtle, peripheral vision.
The snap and wink. I got the subtle snap and wink, Lothar. The official snap and wink of subtle approval for the Finja 5. But yeah, this game can go very quickly out of hand for the Tempo Mage if they don't get an early opening start of Mana Worm, Sorcerer's Apprentice, and then Frostbolt, Arcane Missiles, or Mirror Image, which can actually slow down the game significantly. It'd be very hard to turn the tide and actually come back, and that's unfortunately what Samuel is experiencing right now. It is turn 4, and he is at 12 health with an insurmountable board on Aqua's side.
This is exactly the opposite of what I said about Saucy Captain. This is one of the games where Saucy Captain is just insane.
I mean, if that was a Murloc, those would be some weaker pirates.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess there's a time and place for every card, just like Raven said. And in this case, Saucy Captain gets his 15 minutes.
We're gonna wait for that Angry Chicken.
I would argue that Booty Bay Bodyguard has no place, but you never know.
Okay. Let's just wait for sealed tournaments, right? For Booty Guard.
The Booty Guard.
Anyway, Water Elemental has now a hard time to deal with the 4/4 Dreadcosser out of range of his attack. Hard time for Samuel to actually do anything in this game. It seems like already lost.
I mean,
turn 4, what can you do, right?
He's real dead.
He needs that Arcane Missiles to hit 3 times into the Saucy Captain or 4 times into the Dreadcosser to get something going. And that's it. That's 12 damage already on board.
Yeah, I mean, he knows it. He tried to go for the Lucky Missiles, did not work out for him, and that was just an absolutely blowout game by the Pirate Warrior. Has to happen eventually. That was the 3rd time in a row that Aqua had played the Pirate Warrior. Samuel won both of the first 2 games. So, eventually give a nod to the Pirate Warrior and move on.
At some point, that deck should win at least once, right?
I mean, you would hope that it wins. It's why you bring it. And it is very consistent. It can suffer from, some heavier openings, but heavy for Pirate Warriors, like 2 and 3 drops. So eventually it is going to just grab a win. And against Tempo Mage with a weak start, certainly a place to do it.
Definitely. Some information about the matchups in general. Both players banned Shamans. Not really surprised, right?
I'm shocked.
About Aqua, he's actually quite the ladder warrior. He in the past 3 months before this tournament, he finished on America and Asia server in the top 100 every single time.
Impressive.
Sorry, 1 time on America he finished top 200, but otherwise he was always top 100 on both servers in the same month. So quite a player, I would say. But now he is in a tough position. 2-1 still for Samuel. Let's see if he'll prevail. He's also bringing only one Reno deck, and that Reno deck of his choice is actually the Mage, so he prefers the Mage over the Warlock. What do you think about that, Cora?
I actually, based on personal preference, I do also prefer the Reno Mage. Certainly weaker against a couple of decks than the Reno Warlock, but generally I enjoy its consistency. I think if you want to make your lineup stronger against other Reno decks, the Warlock is probably the way to go, with combo and Lord Jaraxxus seems to be what most people are picking up on, but I certainly don't think it's wrong to bring the Mage. In the place of the Reno Warlock, he actually has the Rogue, which is a calculated risk, but it has paid off for him thus far. And now we've got the Tempo Mage for Samuel once again, and of course, at Reno Mage for Aqua. How does the Tempo Mage run away with this match?
Very similar to even Reno Mage, actually. Because you want to play minions in the beginning and just finish the game with reach. And by reach, I mean cards like Frostbolt, Fireballs, Firelance Portal are amazing in this matchup just to finish up the game. But you need to open the game with minions. By the way, that Barnes pulling out the Sorcerer's Apprentice is pretty nice for Samuel, because now Aqua has like two targets that he needs to deal with them ASAP, and that's Flamewaker and the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Both are very dangerous, and he has only one card that he can play right now. He's overloaded with cards that just cost too much mana, and he doesn't have the time.
Going into the mid and late game for Aqua, he's going to be at a natural advantage versus the Tempo Mage. Tempo Mage stacks out really early in a lot of cases, can have some dead draws going into the late game. But with Ragnaros and Archmage Antonidas, combined with those cheap spells that the Sorcerer's Apprentice only makes cheaper, which then works with the Flamewaker, it can get very out of hand really quickly, and the Tempo Mage can rack up a lot of damage, even going into turns when the Reno Mage should be favored. So the fact that Aqua hasn't had a chance to play anything thus far on board to really cement his position, putting him at a really big disadvantage. Even going forward to the next several turns, he's not going to have a board clear until turn 7.
Yeah, and oh boy, that is a huge problem. Using the Polymorph already on a minion that is worth 3 mana, it's necessary evil, at least it seems like it, but let's take some context, right? Historically speaking, decks like Freeze Mage, like Reno Mage work similarly, and they have a problem with big minions. Like let's say Ragnaros is an MVP against those decks because it has 8 HP. It can be killed with Fireball Ping because it's one shot. It will rack up the damage. It plays around freezes, and you need the Polymorph to deal with it. Very similar situation is with the Archmage Antonidas, big chunk of health, problematic to deal with, and using that Polymorph already gives Samuel green light to play those big minions and just not care, especially if no Kazakos was seen as of yet.
It's a great point. The Reno Mage, the hard removal that they run is limited to Polymorph, Fireball, and then usually either Flame Lance or Forbidden Flame. So now that you've seen Polymorph, you're free to extend onto this board going into turn 5 because, well, if there was Volcanic Potion, you very likely would have seen it already instead of a Polymorph on your Flamewaker. So Samuel's able to make some reads that it's okay for him to extend onto this board, and especially now going into turn 7 with Antonidas and significantly discounted cards in hand.
It's kind of crazy.
Because of the apprentices on board. If he had an Echo of Medivh, this would be the infinite Fireball combo.
Yep, too bad it's not a standard card anymore. That was quite a
Go to
unique
Wild
mechanic.
to live the dream.
Yeah. Right, 1 mana Arcane Intellect, the dream. You get
This is a different dream. This is a good one.
calling for Aqua though helps him a little bit because now he can actually play Flame Strike. What do you think about that? Because Samuel he needed to calculate that, right? If he plays a spell, he brings the possibility of getting punished by the Flame Strike. He actually plays 2 spells because now it doesn't make that huge of a difference, right?
Ooh, that's a big drop.
Woo!
That's it's going to be resistant to the Flame Strike that Aqua can
That
coin
is correct.
into.
So I'm guessing Aqua will just snap pick the coin into Flame Strike because you can't really play Reno Jackson into this board because 2 Sorcerer's Apprentices with a Mana Worm on board equal strategy. Every single spell not only costs like practically nothing, but also stacks up the damage. So problem for Aqua.
Well, I mean, either way you cut it, it is a problem because the Flame Strike will not take down the Draconid Operative. Aqua is at only 11 health, meaning that Fireball in Samuel's hand would simply close out this game if Aqua chooses to go with the Flame Strike. He's going to take that calculated risk and say, this is the way I'm going to win the game. I need to clear the board, hope that you don't have this direct damage, and then I can Reno and try to build myself back up from there. Unfortunately for Aqua, Samuel does not have it in hand. And even with Acolyte ping, he would not have the mana to find it. So Aqua is going to live another turn, another couple turns with that Reno.
That's true. I would love actually to see an Antonidas here, because when you think about it, Polymorph was played, Flame Strike was played, right? You have a 5/2 minion on board, your opponent's at 11. If he wants to play Reno Jackson next turn, he is out of mana. He will not deal with that Antonidas, and you can just chain spells for the fireballs. And that means you probably will win the game at that point. And if you will deal with the Antonidas, then next turn you can just also win the game because you have basically enough damage to kill it. But he didn't go for it, unfortunately.
Maybe a little bit defensive by Samuel. Him saying essentially that he doesn't think that he needs to go all in right now and thinks he can win the game by playing it a little bit safe. And certainly with Antonidas, combined with all of these smaller spells, he can work up quite a few fireballs in hand to burst past the Reno. So he's simply he's playing for a longer game.
Wow, he's going greedy.
Very much so. Their second fireball in hand.
Very greedy, actually.
Unlocking a lot of damage potential. Aqua does have the Alexstrasza in hand, so if Samuel were to put Aqua down past 15 and use all of his burn, then Aqua could heal back up. So Samuel does need to be very cognizant of that fact and save the burn for a turn when he can use it all directly to kill Aqua.
Interesting how the game developed, because now I'm guessing that Samuel will wait for value Antonidas with at least 2 spells. He has 2 1-mana spells. So turn 9, Antonidas into Mirror Image and Arcane Blast seems like a good option. You'll have 18 damage in your hand, huge amount of threats on board which your opponent needs to deal with, and he has nothing to deal with. I mean, he can have a fireball, but other than that, Flamestroke is gone. Blizzard is not enough, especially against an Antonidas. So, what do you do with those threats?
Yeah, Aqua's hand it's really high value right now, but it's a little bit clunky. If Aqua were to have to play the Alexstrasza, he would have nothing to follow it up with except for the Forgotten Torch here. That's a little bit weak. Antonidas doesn't have a lot of combo pieces, and it's really important to note, both of these guys are at 4-1 records. So we are going to have several 5-2 records make it through to the quarterfinals tomorrow. So a lot on the line for these guys, really trying to make a name for themselves, trying to make it to the quarterfinals, and then ultimately through to the Bahamas.
I wonder.
He's thinking about the... It's so funny when you think about it.
Okay, so Azure Drake, you can fit in a ping on your Acolyte, and then the Arcane Blast plus the Acolyte attack. That's going to get you quite a few.
Yeah, he's going greedy into
I think
this match.
Is fine.
It just brings Kazakus, like, you know, he didn't see Kazakus yet, but it brings Aqua closer to the Kazakus, and that's one of ways in which Samuel can actually lose the game because of potential insane. Oh, look at that! With a potential insane potion, he can turn the game around. And when you think about it, the pressure from Samuel is actually not that big right now. Here we go. Kazakus is being played for a 5-mana potion, I'll be guessing. No, 10 mana.
10 mana.
Oh, okay, what are the options?
He's going big.
Well, let's see.
I would imagine you need some way to clear the board. You've used Reno already.
Yeah, he needs a board clear. He didn't.
After that, resurrect minions would be great. Unfortunately, sometimes you don't get the perfect Kazakus potion. You just have to work with what you got.
So 7 damage to all minions. I mean, 7 because of the spell power.
And gain 10 armor.
Yep.
It's a little bit of a weak second effect, but it might just be able to push Aqua through all of the burn that Samuel is going to accumulate. And the Ragnaros draw is big. That could potentially be another 8 damage to face.
But this is really awkward for Samuel. We talked in the beginning that after seeing the Polymorph being played, Ragnaros is the MVP. But now, after Kazakus was played, Samuel needs to keep in mind there might be a potion that polymorphs a minion. So the Ragnaros is not that valuable anymore. So now he needs to think about what do I do to bait out the potions first, right? Probably the best bet would be to go wide on board and just overextend to see if he has a AoE in the potion. If that's the case, then after that potion being played, you just drop Ragnaros and probably take the game from that point.
Samuel considering the Antonidas for a long time, and he is going to go with it. Going to get 2 fireballs off of this, along with the natural fireball in his hand. Not going to be able to clear off the Drake, so that is going to give this Kazakus potion actually fantastic value. Going to clear off the Antonidas because of the spell damage from the Drake.
It kind of puzzles me because of the fact that Kazakus was just played, and instead of going for the Azure Drake, so put some minion on boards already, and then just kind of, as I said before, bait out the the potion. He puts a really big threat on board, which is not necessary right now. And he could have played it like turns before he even saw Kazakus, right? But still, that's for Aqua. It doesn't really matter what is being put on board. He needs to deal with it immediately. So I imagine he will be using this turn, because he just did draw the Blizzard, which deals 3 damage. He can combine that with the Torch and deal with Antonidas, which is a miracle for Aqua right now, and he really needed that. He can still keep the Azure Drake on board and pressure a little bit Samuel.
Yeah, this is going to work out great for him. Being able to put the Roaring Torch in his deck from the Forgotten Torch gives him a little bit more reach, a little bit more removal, and honestly just being able to save the Kazakus potion. 6 damage to all is certainly going to be easier to use than 2 or 3 damage to your opponent's board, plus
Definitely.
a freeze. So you want to get the more situational AoE out of the way where you can get good value from it, and then save your stronger cards for, you know, when you may not have other options to remove them. And plus this way the Kazakus potion is still kept secret from Samuel, so it might affect his next several plays.
That's correct.
What to do?
But now the other impactful legendary is being drawn. Wow.
That's a lot of fireballs, and now at 3 mana apiece, it's 18 potential burst damage in 1 turn.
1 turn. Unfortunately, no Falnos to pair it up for full 10 mana, so it can even go to 21. And I imagine this is the turn when you need to play, yes, you need to play the Kazakus potion for the big AoE effect and the armor.
This just paves the way for a Ragnaros on an unchallenged board. This is going to shred 9 of the armor that was just made from the Kazakus potion.
And there's literally no way to deal with this minion in 1 turn.
Yeah, Fireball Hero Power can't do it. If Aqua were to Arcane Intellect, I do not believe he has Flame Lance in the list, so that is not an out. Use the Polymorph already. It's looking like this Rag is gonna stick.
Well, that was Forbidden Flame that we didn't see it. Forgot about that.
But it would have had to have been the draw right off the top for Aqua to have enough mana to play it to actually be able to kill the Rag. So this might just be 16 damage to face from Ragnaros.
Well, let's see. Antonidas into the board with the Fireball is a possibility. And then you can just kind of... Well, now that's... Every single option here is horrible. What do you do?
It would... Okay,
it's
so if
such a
you Antonidas
pain.
and Fireball face,
Time runs out on me.
you're not putting Samuel, or you're not putting yourself on any lethal towards Samuel because there's no Pyroblast in the deck, so not even over 3 turns could you finish him off.
Maybe Arcane Intellect to draw 2 small creatures and just drop them on the board. And that's an option.
It's going to be the Water Elemental, and the Fireball setting up the kill on the Rag next turn. So Rag's going to get 1 more shot.
Forgotten Torch. So another
Well,
burn spell.
Let's see if there's actually lethal here. So at most, Samuel can play the 3 fireballs at 6, 12, 18. to face. That would give Rag a 50-50.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Simply killing Aqua.
You go for it,
also,
right?
Well, you can Drake. Double Fireball is 14 to face, and then the 8 would clear it off as well. So either the Ragnaros kills the Water Elemental or kills Aqua, ideally.
I like
and
that.
if it were to clear the Elemental, you get to keep your 3rd Fireball, plus now you've got Forgotten Torch. Gives you a little bit of reach. Either way, the Alexstrasza is going to be a bit of a problem.
Is it? I mean, with the amount of burst you have in hand, you will still keep the Fireball and the Torch, right? So when you set up an Azure Drake, you know that your Ragnaros needs to be dealt with. So if your opponent will play Alexstrasza for 9 mana, it's not possible to ping it. We know that the Emperor already ticked the Alexstrasza, so there's a possibility to play Alexstrasza and kill the Ragnaros. But for Samuel, that's a really good setup because next turn he deals 7 damage with the Fireball and 4 damage with the Torch. But that 50-50
Rag hit to the Elemental, not quite lethal, but Aqua gonna heal back up to 15. Samuel still 4 on board from the Azure Drake, plus the 7 from the Fireball and the 4 from the Forgotten Torch. That is gonna close out this series in favor of SamuelTsao, 3-1 over Aqua. He's going up to a 5-1 record.
One more match for him, and he goes to the playoffs. So a very important win for Samuel. Unfortunate for Aqua, but he can still go to the playoffs if he manages to win the last round in the Swiss. So actually, that was a very exciting game because it seems like Samuel was taking it very slow, although he could have switched the gear and just go into turbo mode, but he has given some chances for Aqua.
I think a lot of it came down to Aqua had used that polymorph so early on a Flame Waker, which made Emperor Tharsan, Ragnaros, Archmage Antonidas increasingly more difficult to deal with. And unfortunately, Aqua was just pushed into that corner from so early on, was never able to really fully get himself out of it. And Samuel was just able to run away with it with those fireballs from the Archmage Antonidas, the Ragnaros, which was able to live for 2 turns. Everything just sort of went his way in that game. But that is going to be 3-1 in favor of Samuel, and we are going to head over back to our